Good evening, folks. Casey Wilms, Highway 71, also the fire chief here in town. So I'm sure you're all aware. Mr. Lewis made you aware we have an election coming up on Saturday. I'd like to advise you folks as the governing body that I'm sure you're aware how difficult it is to maintain a zero increase tax rate for the year. You guys have worked on it year in, year out. We work just as hard, and for 2011, the proposed budget is a 0% tax rate increase. No matter who's going to spin numbers, no matter what happens, no matter what anybody says to you, the proposed budget is a 0% tax rate increase. You can put any other numbers you want there, but that's a hard, true fact that nobody can argue. You'll hear arguments at some point that it is unfair and it's too expensive a burden compared to other towns. Last month's meeting, your comparisons to various other departments. Just want to advise you that you cannot make those kind of comparisons between a district budget and a municipal budget. There are costs that are never shown in the municipal budget, municipal fire budget, such as insurance, such as fuel, other items that just don't fit in that have to be removed and brought into it. So if you want to compare apples to apples, you can compare it to any other district, and ours is one of the lowest in the county, and the budget's one of the lowest in the county. If you have any questions, you guys know where we are. We had one of the busiest years in 2010 that this fire department or this town has ever seen. We're not asking for a single penny more out of anybody's pockets this year. We want to make sure that everybody has no more burden on them, and we continue to offer the best services that this county can provide in this town, with no doubt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Casey.
Kate, I want to just, having Casey up with the microphone reminds me of something. I want to publicly thank Casey. Casey, as a patrolman here in town, and this past Friday night, he took time on his own, and he taught for 2 hours 12, 10-year-old, 11-year-old Weevil Scouts first aid upstairs here, because we're preparing for the Klondike Derby, which is this coming up Saturday. And that's the type of service that I very much appreciate, and thanks very much, Casey.
No problem. While I'm here, can I just ask one other question? I saw an item on the resolution for a contract with Muskrat Mark. I know that I discussed that with the chief of police. Has anybody...
We've looked, if you're referring to looking into the ASPCA or...
The Associated Humane.
Yeah, we've looked into all of that. Janine did that for us, and it's quite expensive. Way more than we can afford.
As long as the chief has
Right.
relayed that to you guys, that's
Right,
my
yes, he
concern.
has,
So I'm not gonna step
absolutely.
over.
We know the problem is what we looked into using other, and it's, the prices are outrageous.
Okay. I understand, as long as, like I said, that was addressed. That's my only concern. Thank you very much.
Any other, John?
Yeah, just John Lewis again, 574 Prospect Avenue. Let me read you from page 3 from this year's budget. The amount to be raised by taxation will increase $8,019. Now, this is the same game that's played year in and year out. That used the money that was put in, padded the previous years, apply it to your tax rate so it looks like the budget is actually going down when the portion to be received by taxation is actually going up. And then the rhetoric changes next year and they say, well, the budget is staying the same. Only next year they don't apply the fund balance to it, and the people have to pick up that fund balance next year, yet the budget will be the same. That's how the budget has increased from $200,000 to over $400,000 for the same volunteer services that we have.
Okay, thanks, John.
John, what time period were you talking about that increase? Over which years?
Well, this $8,000 is from last year.
Yeah, I understand, but you said it went from about 200,000.
Years ago, and it might be 8 years ago.
Okay.
That was 200. I have, most of the budgets and could go over them with you year in, year out. And they ask that if there's any questions you have, the only question that anybody is ever interested in is how are you spending $400,000? And can you bring the bills in here and let us look at what the maintenance costs of the fire company is. Do other fire companies pay workman's compensation for 40 people, as Mr. Merriman last meeting told us? I mean,
You have to have workers' compensation for your firemen.
well, and then are we also paying workman's compensation on Mr. Williams as a policeman as well?
Well, sometimes he's a policeman and sometimes he's.
But again, we're paying as a policeman and we're also paying as a fireman.
But it is a separate issue.
And I don't understand how Bradley Beach can run a fire department for $104,000 and pay, you're saying they have to pay it, and pay that. Now, maybe the town is paying it.
The town is paying, it's in their budget, it's in there. The town is required to pay it the maximum.
Well,
rate.
the town is paying it in Bradley
I
Beach.
think what Mr. Williams is saying, because Mr. Williams sent us an email or a letter as well, we all got it in our packets. And what he's saying is that the comparison that you drew last meeting between Bradley and Spring Lake Heights specifically was erroneous insofar as it didn't take into account certain soft costs, which Bradley Beach absorbs as part of their general budget and not as part of the operating portion that they give to their fire company, which is probably accurate. Now, the question
Yes.
is whether or not are they more, that doesn't necessarily contradict what it is you're saying, insofar as you're saying that other towns provide fire service for less than ours. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, probably they do.
Well,
But ultimately, it's up for the people to decide. And
Yes,
the
it is.
point is that you have a right to go out.
and all I'm doing is trying to give them both sides of the coin.
And they have a right to inform people. And the reason why my good friend Jim Merriman, the reason why I took issue with Jim.
John, everybody's your good friend, John, that's the problem.
I've known Jim Merriman
It's
a
good to
long
have
time.
friends.
A long time. Jim Merriman and I were in Boy Scouts.
And the thing is.
Before both of us had hair, John.
I still got it.
You know, when you go out, I don't think anybody would turn over a check. I mean, and I'm not picking on Art, but you wouldn't give Art $400,000 a year and say, go ahead, run the department without seeing some kind
They
of
have a district.
bids.
But they have a district.
Yeah, the same district that Art has in his realm.
Arts
Okay.
within our.
Okay,
Okay.
let's move on, let's
Alrighty,
move on.
go
Thank
ahead.
you, John. Would anyone else like to speak? May I have a motion to close the voice of the public, please?
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
New business, ordinance number 3, 2011, recreation, amending and supplementing chapter 16 of the revised general ordinances entitled administration. Could I have a motion to introduce and advertise in accordance with the law?
What is it?
I make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? And I assume everybody's had a chance to look at the recreation thing? Any question or concerns about it?
My only concern is that it looks like we're giving up a lot of control and authority from the council to this board, as you call it.
Control or what?
Control, they call it recreation board. Right. It looks like you're giving up a lot of our responsibility to council to this board.
Well, the idea is that the philosophy is that you want people who are running it to, you know, who are closest to the people to run the show, as it were. So I'm empowering those folks who are stepping forward, who are civic-minded and want to, you know, provide recreation for kids and seniors and whatever else, to do what they do best. There's also a provision in here that this is self-funding, and then if they do, you know, if they do run short or something like that, guess what? They have to get council approval before any funds are transferred. So really, we retain the power of the purse string